My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert. In every episode, we're bringing you faith stories and fishing memories from some amazing members of the fishing community.
So join us as we shed a positive light on all things faith and fishing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam, and for the moment, I am flying solo. At some point, Robert should be jumping in with us. He is out celebrating his son's birthday tonight, so if he does not end up showing up, we will forgive him for it. But if you're listening, happy birthday, Mason. But yeah, so. I don't have a ton of housekeeping stuff this episode. I will say just a big shout out to everybody who's been listening, everybody who's given us feedback. We really appreciate it. All the positive words of encouragement and everything. It means a lot to us and means a lot that you're listening. I will say. Yeah, I had something for housekeeping stuff and have plumb forgot what it was. So we're gonna go ahead and I do remember. It is the merch store. I just wanted to remind everybody that if you want to support the podcast, we do have a merch store. You can click on the All Things Faith and Fishing link in the show notes and go to that. I think it's called the Faith and Fishing Store is the name of the link there, and it'll take you there. You can pick up a Hey Y'all t-shirt. You can pick up logo t-shirt. The one that says, I don't worry about my problem here. I just fish, fish, fish. And the Lonnie Ellerby quote, just make being a good person a priority. So or a hoodie or sticker. I know whenever I caught that 7-pounder, the PB, one of the things I did was I held it up to the Faith and Fishing sticker to see how big its mouth was, because I know that sticker is 5 inches across, and that bass could have swallowed it. So, that's going to do it for the housekeeping stuff. We're going to say thank you to a couple sponsors real quick, and then we will jump right into it. If finesse fishing is your comfort zone, something you want to learn better this year, or just something you like to tie on as a Hail Mary pass, Jade's Jigs has everything you need and more, and it's all eco-friendly and lead-free. With an awesome selection of baits and colors, they've got a variety of techniques covered for you. Finesse jigs, underspins, Nico weights, Ned rigs, and more are all waiting for you at jadesjigs.com. And while you're there, use promo code FNF10 for 10% off your purchase. That's jadesjigs.com and promo code FNF10 for 10% off.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on-the-water courses and demos. And we'll even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check out shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
All right, y'all. So this episode, we have a guest I'm really looking forward to. Y'all know, y'all probably tired of hearing Robert and I talk about it, but Robert and I are both podcast junkies, and whenever it comes to fishing podcasts, we are always excited when another one pops up, because it means that it is new content for us. It's a new one that we can binge listen to, or be caught up on, or whatever. But this week's guest is Pete Shandrick of the OneCast Bass Fishing, or OneCast Fishing. He's going to correct me if I'm wrong on the names there, but So some snagless jigs and an awesome new fishing podcast that has had some really awesome topics. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Pete in. Pete, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Cam. Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah, we're we're the OneCast podcast for the media stuff. So just the OneCast being one word, and then you mentioned the snagless jigs and that product, that's OneCast Fishing. So we sort of fall under one umbrella, but two separate entities to one company. But I really appreciate the chance to come on here and talk to you about kind of what we have going on and faith and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I'm going to get us started where I first found out about you, and that was on the Carolina Waters pro staff team. And anytime I jump on a new pro staff team or group chat or anything like that, and somebody brings up, oh, such and such has a podcast, I perk up and I'm like, oh, really? And I jumped on, and I think the first episode I listened to was your debate on the goat of bass fishing.
Yeah.
And there was some really interesting, some really good thoughts that y'all had, and some that I did not agree with at all. I think it was you that said that had Bill Dance as your pick. Was that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I thought that was a solid choice. I thought Rick Clunn was a solid choice. And then somebody went and brought up Scott Martin.
Yeah. We're not going to get into that one.
And I don't know much about Scott other than who his grandpa was or is, and I know a little bit about him, but yeah, I struggled with that pick a little bit, or I should say a lot. I struggled with the fact that nobody brought up KVD, but that's the thing about these kinds of debates is everybody has their own measuring stick. So
certainly, we it is a little shocking when you have three anglers talk goat and KVD doesn't come up, but I there's just so many folks that did so much for the sport for such a long period of time that for me, when you look at, like I said, Bill Dance, if you go back and listen to our episode, he's got so many people involved in fishing and just bass fishing, and he's sort of brought fishing to the mainstream, because even folks that don't fish or know fishing know the guy in the orange Tennessee hat with the blooper reels of him falling out of his boat and stuff. So I honestly feel someday KVD will be up there. There's a lot of guys that could be in that conversation. Hank Parker is one of mine. There's a lot of those folks. So it's always a fun that episode. Man, that one keeps going. So we keep getting a ton of downloads on that one. It seems to be a lot of people's first, but it's always good to hear different opinions. And yeah, Scott Martin threw me for a loop on that one too, but we won't get into that debate today.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so it's an interesting kind of fishing podcast. It's not the tips and techniques, and it's not the tournament recaps. It's topical, which is really really cool, interesting, and it's something that I'm surprised hasn't been filled more so than it has already. So glad to see somebody fill in that hole, and glad to add another podcast to the playlist. But yeah, so that's the podcast. Let's dive into the snagless revolution, as y'all call it. Tell us about the jigs, man.
Yeah, so Ben Huffman started OneCast Fishing while he was still active duty in the Army. He's since got out, but he made all different style jigs like we're all used to, with a brush guard. You can You can buy them on every corner, every gas station, every store. There's a lot of folks making them. And Ben I met, I bought some of his product. I actually met him on Jordan Lake. Him and I, talked back and forth. I got onto his pro staff, and then he was in a really bad truck accident. Somebody crossed center line and hit him head on, and basically he was in dual wrist splints. He couldn't really use his hands. Had some busted up ankles and stuff like that. And as soon as I found out about it, and he was kind of able to be coherent and getting out of the hospital, I just hit him up and said, "Hey man, if you need anything, let me know. Like I can come over. I help you package jigs, whatever. I don't want to see your small business. It's this sort of starting to grow suffer." And so it started with me going over there and helping them, build some of the traditional jigs, and we built a relationship and a trust. And one day we actually went to fish a Tuesday nighter on Jordan. For anybody that's local in North Carolina, they do the Tuesday nighters. He called me and said, "Hey man, you want to jump on the boat and fish tonight?" And I was like, "Sure." So I got down there and he pitched this idea to me that he wanted to do. He said, "Hey, man, what do you think about this?" He goes, I've been thinking about designing a extended shank, EWG hook that we can put a jig head on and eliminate the weed guard. Hook your soft plastics weedless, and fish them without the weed guard. It kind of opens up some different areas, not having that. Excuse me, that bare hook. And I was like, "Dude, it sounds like a great idea." I was like, "I know some folks with CAD experience. Like, let me know. We can start getting this thing rolling." And so we went with it. We got some prototypes 3D printed, and that was our first step. So we got 3D printed of the hook with the actual head shape we wanted on there. And then we were able to sort of, it's plastic 3D print, so it's pretty weak, but we were able to sort of thread soft plastics on there and say, well, we can at least get them on the way we want. Let's go ahead and see about getting hooks manufactured. So we got that phase done. Then we had to build the molds, got everything in, and tested them for about a year. So what we have, like I said, sort of design is we custom designed a extended shank EWG hook. I didn't even think to grab a hook. I have some out in the boat, but EWG hook that allows us to still spin cast our lead head on there. But then you can hook your plastics Texas style. You don't have an exposed hook. You can tuck the hook point if you want to. So what it did for us was we're able to fish brush piles and some other things where normally you can get a jig in there and you can kind of get it through, but you end up getting hung up. You end up setting your hook into the brush pile or whatever. And what we found is we can slide that Texas rigged jig through there, and it still presents in the same profile as a standard jig with a weed guard. We didn't have any diminishing hookup ratio. In some instances, I feel like the hookup ratio is better because you don't have to try to get that weed guard out of the way and punch through it to get the hook set. It just kind of took off from there. And then we we posted a TikTok. Well, Ben posted a TikTok video of the hook that we actually designed for the punching jigs. And a bunch of people said, "Hey, we want to buy these. Like we want to use those on Carolina rigs or Texas rigs or whatever you want to call it. I think they'd be great." So we went ahead and I think we put like 40 packages on the website one night and said, "Hey, they're there." And in a matter of about 10 or 15 minutes, they were sold out. So now we have the long neck hooks, which were never intended for sale, kind of like a happy little accident. But it has that extended shank. So for bed fishing, for fishing big 5-inch worms, all that kind of stuff, you can get your hook further down the body of the soft plastics you're fishing without having to try to thread it down there and all that stuff. So it's been a wild ride trying to come out with something different. As anybody that's been in fishing or around fishing or spent time on the cesspool I call Facebook, everybody argues. Everybody says it's the worst idea ever. It's never going to work. Don't fix what isn't broken. So being able to take that criticism, get it into the hands of some of those people, and them really see how the product was, and it's been a lot of fun. So bringing something new and innovative to the market, and trying to get it out there to the masses. So it's been cool, man.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to ask about the jigs. You have like different different types of heads. You
Mhm.
have like swim jigs and flipping jigs and punching jigs and all that kind of stuff. What's your lineup look like right now?
Yeah. So right now we have a flipping jig, which is like your regular Arky style head, basically. We have that in a 3/8, half ounce, and 3/4. We have a football jig, same weights, swim jig, in the same weights. We have the punch jig right now in 3/4 and 1 ounce. And then we have the bladed jig, so like a chatterbait, in 3/8, half, and 3/4. And then the long neck hooks come 3/0 or 4/0.
All right. Um, and you know, silicone skirts and all that good stuff. I wanted to ask, so which of the jigs is your favorite so far that y'all have?
Oh man, that's tough because I love to fish a jig, but probably the flipping jig, just because, man, I can fish it and stuff that I normally would have thrown a shaky head or whatever at. I can get that bigger profile. And then if you use a bait with that has a lot of buoyancy, something that floats really well, the way that head design and with the EWG hook, it stands up like really, really good to present that kind of defensive craw pattern. So just that's probably my favorite. The other thing that I'll do with it is I'll actually take the skirt off and I'll thread like a 10-inch worm on there, and basically just shoot fish a magnum shaky head at that
Right.
point. So there's a lot of options, with them. The other one would be the swim jig, because you don't have to throw it in and try to rip it off lily pads or anything. You can just throw it up in there and crank it through that stuff, reel it over the top, because you don't have that brush guard or exposed hook, so you don't have to worry about anything getting in between the brush guard and hook, getting hung up. So those two have really been my favorite to this point.
Nice. So whenever you're fishing that flipping jig, and uh, sorry, the dog's right here, and uh, she's she's begging for some water. I have to I have to fill that up in a minute, um, but yeah, whenever you're fishing that flipping jig with the EWG, does anything change in how you're presenting that bait in terms of like how you're working the lure, how you're any of that stuff, any of that change?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. No, I fish it exactly like I would a jig that has a weed guard. Drag it, pop it, just try to figure out what the fish want that day. I will say that, like I said, the big difference is I have no hesitation at all to throw that into the middle of a laydown, pitch it into the middle of a brush pile. Um, Throwing it up into rock, anything like that. Before you might have thought, maybe I shouldn't flip this jig up there in that big old brush pile, because I'm probably not going to get it back. I'm telling you, man, that thing will come through there like butter, a hot knife through butter, and so it's opened up the ability to fish that jig, like I said, in other areas. But as far as changing the way I'm presenting that bait, or areas traditional areas I'm fishing, I'm doing the exact same thing as I did before.
All right. And what about rod setup? What are you throwing that on?
I throw pretty much. I usually have four of them on my deck, but 7'3" medium heavy, cash and worm jig rod. I usually the Icon. I do like the Cruise too, but I just like that 7'3", medium heavy up to a half ounce. It gives you more than enough to be able to throw that thing a mile. And if you've ever fished with a cash and rod, that medium heavy. I call it almost like a medium heavy, because it's got a really, really soft tip and the fast tip, but it's got enough backbone that when I stick a fish, if it's in brush pile or up under a dock or whatever, I don't have to worry about grinding it out of there. I got plenty of backbone in the rod, and even like I said, making those long casts, there's enough backbone to drive that hook home. So that's
Right.
pretty much my go-to for throwing a jig.
And are those hooks, are they heavy gauge?
They are considered heavy gauge, but they're not as heavy as at what you see like in a normal jig hook, if you will say. But I can tell you that I had the same green pumpkin flipping jig tied on to a rod for probably 8 months. I shouldn't say it was tied on the whole time because obviously I retied, but it was on there until I got to a fish Lake Gaston, and I got it. Fish got me wrapped around a dock tie off, like a steel cable, and the hook had gotten caught in it. And testament to Gamma Line if you are looking for great fluorocarbon. But I throw it on 17-pound fluorocarbon, and I could not break that thing. And I actually had to use the trolling motor, so 110 pounds of thrust, dragging backwards, and it ended up straightening out the hook on a steel cable. So it's plenty heavy enough. I mean, we've got fish catches. Ben, the owner, caught a 25-pound catfish on the swim jig with no problem. We had a bunch of big cats caught on it while guys are fishing. A couple of big carp have been snagged on accident while fishing shallow with it. So if folks get them and they're a little bit concerned about the hook gauge, I promise you have nothing to worry about. If you straighten that hook out on bass, then that was 3 times the world record, or you hook a Goliath grouper in freshwater or something like that. But for bass fishing and what we're going to run into in freshwater in the U.S., it'll hold up to without any issues.
Yeah, for sure. I was more thinking, when fishing from a kayak, having to bring that hook through the plastic and then the fish's mouth, while also it's bringing you to the fish. I was wondering it, or I was thinking to myself, I might need to bump up to that heavy rod. But yeah, that's awesome. So, and still trying to find that comfort zone with jigs. Mr. B lure company that works with the podcast. I reach out to him every now and then and ask questions. So you may be on the list of people that I ask questions as well.
Yeah, hit me up, man. I love throwing a jig. It's especially in the lakes. I don't fish as much if I fish the river systems. I prefer a Texas rig there, but in the lake, I'm almost always going to pick a jig up first.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I also wanted to get your faith story. So, I know you and we met in person for the first time there at Cashin, and I know um, I know with Cashin y'all get to do all kinds of Bible studies and stuff, but I wanted to kind of get your faith story, what it is that you believe in, how you came to believe that, all that good stuff, man. So go for it.
Yeah. So this is I guess the best way for me to do this is just to share a bit of my testimony and kind of how I got to where I am. So growing up, I didn't come from a super religious family. My mother believes in God, believes in Jesus as a savior. She, silently would pray and do her thing, but she never forced it upon us as kids. Never went to an established church growing up outside of my grandparents were very, very devout Roman Catholic, practicing Roman Catholics. And so Easter, Christmas, or anytime they would watch us. If my parents got a weekend away or something, we would go to the Catholic church. And really that turned me off a little bit because those super devout Catholic churches are very fire and brimstone. This is the law, and if you break it, you'd have no redemption. It's not what I interpreted the Bible and Jesus to be. So, I was always, I've heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, use the term Christ curious. So I was always curious, but I never really had that outlet or took the step to kind of find my way or learn about Jesus. And then I got married young, definitely for the wrong reasons, and got married to a woman. I call her my practice wife. That sounds terrible, but got married to her, and she had no religious belief. She was all but an atheist. So we never had those conversations. Jesus wasn't a part of our marriage. And things, went okay for a little while, and then they started to not go okay, and she was unfaithful and those things. But in the time as our marriage was coming to an end, I lost my best friend, who basically was like my brother. We had been, oh man, we had been inseparable since grade school. Did everything together. And he was killed in a car accident, and so I was in a pretty bad place. And then our marriage fell apart, and that ended. So I moved out, and I was, for the first time in my life, I was sort of on my own. I didn't want to move back home because I had gotten used to being out there in the world and kind of doing my own thing. And the only person I had to report to, if you want to call it that, is my now ex-wife. And so I got an apartment. I was working a job, making pretty good money, and I was at this time 22 or 23 years old. And so I started doing what 22 and 23-year-olds doing, and spending my nights in the bar, and chasing women, and just not living life right. And so I was doing that, and it got into I was running around with some folks, and we were doing it every night, man. I was waking up, half drunk, still trying to make myself go to work, and it was in a bad way. So I moved out of my apartment, and I bought what was, our family used it as a camp. This is in Pennsylvania. We called it our camp, but it was really a house. It was on a little private lake. Moved up there and kind of got into the country. Was still going out and partying, and my grandparents had vacationed at that house a lot, and being Catholic, devout Catholic, there was Bibles and things all over the place. And I don't know. I went out one night, and had one of those nights that I don't remember. And I woke up, and my truck at the time was parked half in the driveway with the door half open, and I was sitting there, and my grandfather gave me my grandmother's rosaries, and I just kind of threw them in a drawer, and I opened up that drawer, and the rosary was there, and it was inside the Bible, and it was actually tucked in there, and I opened it up, and I looked, and it was right on the 23rd Psalm. And so I read that, and I don't know, something clicked inside of me. So I immediately, right then and there, kind of cut the partying out. And started trying to live life right. I wouldn't say that I was by any means a believer or anything at that point, but I was taking the steps, and I was sort of trying to self-teach. And then I met my now wife, who truly and honestly, I'm telling you, I know people say it all the time, but she probably saved my life. And we went on a few dates, and my parents, my grandmother, my mom's mom, who they weren't very close. We didn't have much of a relationship growing up. She passed away, and so they had to go to Michigan, where they were from, for the funeral. And this was over Easter, and I couldn't go because of my work schedule, and not having a relationship. It wasn't in the cards. And so I was basically going to spend Easter alone, just hanging at the house, do whatever, eat a frozen pizza, probably play some Xbox or something. And my now wife Chelsea was like, "Hey, you're coming to church with me on Sunday." And I was like, "All right, I've been looking at the Bible. Let's do this." I had talked to her about going with her. I hadn't made that jump yet, so we went to the church she'd been going to, which was Free Will Baptist Church. And as so often happens when folks go to church, it was like they were preaching straight to me about redemption, and and loving the Lord and trusting in the Lord, and how He was resurrected. And from there, I just continued to grow in my relationship with Christ. She helped me. I started going to church and learning every Sunday, and so I was saved. I was baptized as a baby, because being Catholic, they make that decision for you. and have you baptized as a child. So I was baptized, but I hadn't given my heart and my life to Christ at that point in time. But after, I'd say it was probably a year and a half to 2 years of going to church pretty much every Sunday with her, and becoming a part of that church. I was baptized and gave my heart over to Jesus, and the rest is history. I'm not going to say I'm the best man for Christianity or whatever you want to say. I still cuss sometimes a little more than I probably should, and I get a little bit angry. But there's certainly been a change in me. In the Chelsea and I've been together for going on 5 years now, and from the man I was before meeting her when I first met her to where I am now, I'm a completely different person, and that's the only things that I can attribute that to is her and forming a relationship with God and Jesus, and really it's given me the ability to listen to other people's opinions on things, or their reasoning for their way of life or whatever it is, without immediately passing judgment whether I agree or not. I'll listen, and I definitely have gotten a little bit less judgmental. There's still times where I'm not the best at that, but I've really come to just let people live, man. It's their lives. It's not for me to decide. It's not for me to judge. They're gonna have to answer to our Lord and Savior when they get to those gates one day, and they can be judged on the decisions they make. So I really just try to treat everybody with respect and love, and man, I just want to do good in this world as much as I can. So that's how I got to where I am. So I'm still growing my relationship with Jesus, and learning, and trying to be a better man every day for my wife and my family.
That's awesome. And Robert, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, man, it sounded like I slipped in at a good time there, man. That gets me jazzed up. That sounds like a pretty good story. So that's awesome. Sorry I was running late. My son's birthday celebration was tonight, so ran a little bit behind schedule, but got all that taken care of, and joined you guys for the last part of it.
No,
Absolutely.
awesome. Happy birthday to your boy.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll let him know.
Yeah. So Pete, that's not an uncommon story about, we hear a lot of it was my wife that really changed me for the better. And while, so for me, I will say, in terms of Christianity, I was already very involved whenever I met, or I mean, whenever I met, and whenever Caitlin and I started dating. But I mean, uh, to say that she's made me a better person is definitely an understatement. So I'm there with you on that, and uh, I always love hearing those stories of it was not a Damascus Road experience. It was not it's always been their experience. It's just been a like little tiny chisel that's just been molding you over and over and over again until you finally become the man that you are today. So that's awesome. Um, so there are a couple questions that we always ask all of our guests, and as a first timer, we gotta bust out these questions for you. Um,
Awesome.
so I always like to ask. It's one of the favorite questions that I always get to ask is, what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
What fishing story or memory means the most to me? Man, there's so many. I've had so many, man, amazing experiences. I've been blessed to be able to have fished, and spent a lot of time fishing my whole life. Um, but honestly, I would say memory or series of memories was my Chelsea, my wife now, when we first met. She had done a little bit of trout fishing and kind of creek fishing and stuff up there in Pennsylvania. Never really bass fished or anything. So she always thought we were goofy when I talked to her after the fact because we were out there throwing around little plastic worms and stuff. And she didn't understand it. But pretty much every night, when she would get home from work, we both had pretty normal 9 to 5 jobs. We get home, but we would go out behind the house where I was living. I said I lived on a little private lake. It's maybe 15 acres, 10 acres there in Pennsylvania, and it's got a bunch of small bass in it. There's so many bass in it that they're stunted, so they're all like 8, 10 inches long. And we would go out there and fish, and I taught her how to fish a Cinco on a spinning rod, and we were doing all this stuff. Well, there was one night she came home, man, and the wind was blowing. You can't really put a boat on there, so it's just I got a little aluminum rowboat that you row around there, and she's like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," and I'm like, "Okay." So we go around, and I can't really fish because I'm fighting the wind. You guys know, in a kayak, being in a little rowboat, I'm out there trying to keep us somewhere. We got down to the end of the lake where the wind was pushing into the dam, and she pinched it up there into into the riprap, and she brought it down, and she sets a hook, and she goes, I'm snagged. And I looked at her rod, and I said, "You're not snagged. Let's let that fish go." And for that pond, it was maybe about a 3.5 or 4 pound largemouth. But I'm pretty sure that was the moment that she was hooked, and to see how excited she was to catch that big old bass. And it's one of my favorite memories, and one I'll never forget, and really drove our passion. And she started tournament fishing with me, and spending more time on the boat and stuff. So it's spurred that side of our relationship. And man, it's been great. And I see, Robert's got the duck decoys and stuff behind him. We actually got engaged on a snow goose hunt in Arkansas. I got down on one knee in the middle of a field while we were snow goose hunting. So, her and I have had that shared passion for the outdoors and fishing. And a lot of I have a lot of great memories with my dad at doing that stuff, but a lot of the memories her and I have made will for sure be the favorites of mine for a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think, one thing now, and I think about it, and I tell my kids this all the time because they'll sit and look at their phone, and I'm like, hey, that's not the real, like what you're looking at on whatever it is, either it's TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram Reels or whatever. I'm like, that's fun. I mean, but limit it, because that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
I like, go fish, go hunt, go outside, ride your bike, shoot basketball, do something that's real and engage the world, instead of, like this all the time. I'm like, dude. And so just to hear you talk about your relationship with your wife, and you guys spending time doing that stuff. And I mean, just hopefully we can keep passing this torch down to the next generation, and because the numbers of fishing anglers and people that hunt, is getting less and less. So
yep.
We definitely have to make sure we're still doing that and get people outdoors.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we didn't have phones and that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Because, man, I was in the woods on the bike. I was out with a BB gun every day, hunting in the woods all summer, and get home from school, and you would grab the BB gun and head down to the woods. And some good stories there. I remember my dad would I'd go out there with the BB gun and come back. "Oh, did you get anything?" And I said, "Yeah, I shot a couple blackbirds, whatever." He goes, "Oh, well, if there's no feathers and it didn't happen." So I remember I said, "Well, I'm going to show him." So the next day I go out and I shot every bird I could get within range of, and I strung them all up on the clothesline in the backyard. So when he came home, they were all hanging there. And I said, "There, I got the feathers today, old man. You see, I did get some birds," and stuff like that. But I feel blessed that I came up as technology started to grow, so we had a little bit of it, but it wasn't our lives, man. Yeah, we were out there fishing. We were out there hunting all through high school. It was like, get out of school, my buddies and I would jump in the vehicle, whoever had one that had enough gas in it to get somewhere, and we'd have rods and reels in there, and we'd be, heading to the river or creek or whatever to fish. That's what we did on the weekends, fish and hunt. It's just like you said. Hopefully there's enough of us that will get our kids, or if we aren't blessed to have kids, we'll help get other kids who are interested involved, because one thing we see all the time, and I'm sure y'all see it too, is there's kids that want to do it, and they just don't have anybody in the family that'll do it, and will show them how to do it. So as sportsmen, we need to be willing to step up and try to help those kids and get them involved as much as we can, because if not, we're not going to have it as we get older. They're eventually, it won't be there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going on with the questions. What when you're out on the water, what's your normal conversations like? If you're fishing with somebody, what's your normal conversation centered around?
There's a lot of talk about what's going on the day, but I'll be honest with you, I don't talk a whole lot when we're fishing. I just kind of try to be in the moment, and my dad's still with us, God bless, but he had a major heart attack at 55 years old out of the blue. He's a super in shape guy, exercised 6 days a week, lifted, did all that stuff, but he actually suffered a cardiac arrest. They had to shock him, bring him back. And, him and I had fished about a week before that happened. And he had caught some nice largemouth, and he lost that week when it happened. So I showed him some pictures, but I really gained an appreciation. Like, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know if that day on the water is going to be our last day. So I don't talk a whole lot, if I'm honest with you. If I have somebody else that is on the boat that is newer, I usually try to prod a little bit about their faith and just see if they're believers, and we might have some conversation about that. But I really just try to live in the moment when I'm out there on the water, because we don't know when it's going to be our last time out there, so I want to try to take it all in and not miss anything that might be there in front of me.
Awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right. So with all of our guests, I told you this before we got started, we always do a what's your favorite segment. And we are going to get that started in just a second. But first, I wanted to ask, Robert, do you remember the first timer what's your favorite questions? You got them?
I think so, yes.
It's been so long since we've had a first timer. I wanted to make sure.
We've had a string of repeat guests, so I think I scrolled back far enough, so I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we are going to dive into that right after this.
A huge selection and crazy fast shipping is already enough to turn heads as an online tackle shop, but Omnia Fishing sets themselves apart with their ambassador program. With Omnia, you can send in fishing reports for your local lakes that recommend baits, structure, tactics, and gear. And when another angler takes your advice and purchases something from your report, you get credit for it to spend at Omnia. The best part means that with Omnia Fishing, you can shop by lake and purchase baits and gear that are proven to work where you're fishing. To get started, go to omniafishing.com and use promo code FNF15 to save 15% on your first order.
Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality handcrafted lures and has been for 30 years, right here in the U.S. Using all-metal components, Owner and Gamakatsu hooks, and silicone or frog hair skirts, Mr. B is pumping out some awesome spinner baits, jigs, buzz baits, underspins, and more, including some of the most unique bladed jigs on the market. To fill up your tackle box, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, and use promo code faithnfishnpod1x10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. That's faith the letter N, fish the letter N, POD, so Faith and Fishing Pod, just like our Instagram handle, 1x10. All right. So, Pete, to start us off, what is your favorite scripture?
There's two that really stick out to me. Probably my favorite would be Psalm 103, 10-12. So I had to write it down. I had a feeling this one was going to come up, so I didn't want to get it wrong. But it says, He has not dealt with us according to our sins, nor punished us according to our iniquities. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward those who fear him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. That's a powerful one to me. And I feel like with my story, it's just fitting, and it's been one that I've kind of kept with me.
Heck yeah. To go along with that, the next one is, what's your favorite Bible story?
My favorite story is Daniel in the Lion's Den.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, love that one.
Absolutely. All right, so if I go out of order here, I'll let Robert laugh at me. But what is your favorite fish to catch?
Favorite fish to catch? Probably smallmouth bass, northern smallmouth bass. Now I've caught some of these ones down here on the east side of the state and stuff, and they're not the same as a big old Great Lakes smallmouth bass. But yeah, for me, put me on some smallmouth in the Great Lakes, and that's my favorite fish to catch for sure.
So you got favorite fish to catch. What about the front part of that? Favorite fish to fish for. So you're trying to trick them, trying to get them to bite. What's your favorite one to fish for?
No, I'll be honest. For fish for would be these like North Carolina largemouth, man, because to me they're some of the toughest fish in the country, and I've been blessed to chase bass sort of all over the U.S. And if you can catch a fish in North Carolina, I promise you can catch a largemouth anywhere in this country. And it's frustrating at times, but it's been my favorite to fish for sure, just because of the challenge and being able to trick them into eating.
All right.
All right, that makes me feel a lot better, man.
Yeah, we don't suck so bad, huh?
All right, man. Go ahead.
No, good.
All right, what's your favorite fish to eat?
Walleye. Yep, that's another one. You probably don't see it a whole lot down here, but you can't beat a bunch of walleye. A little bit of lemon, throw them on the grill, and it's about the best eating you're gonna have.
I'm looking forward to trying it one day. I hadn't gotten a hold of any yet, but I look forward to getting an opportunity to try some.
So, what about your favorite fishing snack?
Oh man, I'm not good about eating when I'm on the boat, when I'm fishing, but just beef jerky, whatever, some kind of beef jerky. Usually, I always have that on the boat if I'm gonna go. So that's sort of my go-to.
All right. Any particular flavor or brand that's your go-to?
I'm trying to think of the brand. I can't think of it right now, but it's a sugar-free, so they don't really over flavor or anything. It's just a good natural jerky. I'll have to go back and look at the name, which one it is. It's in a yellow bag. If that helps anybody figure it out, but that's my go-to. I usually keep a bag of that somewhere in the boat.
The Country Archer, is that it?
That might be it. Yeah, I think that is it. Yep.
Yeah,
my wife just texted me. She can hear me in the other room. She said it's Tillamook. That's the one I like.
Oh, Tillamook. Okay.
Thanks, babe.
All right. Don't need GPS coordinates or anything, but your no secret spots. Just your favorite body of water to fish.
Lake St. Clair. If you ever have the opportunity to go up and fish Lake St. Clair, it is, again, I've been blessed to fish, most states east of the Mississippi down into Florida, and there's that is, in my opinion, the best fishery in North America. Now I haven't got to do the St. Johns River. It looks like it's close, but man, that St. Clair, man, is just amazing. You can catch a 5-pound largemouth and a 5-pound smallmouth, off the same stretch of bank or weeds or rock pile. It's incredible.
What about your favorite lure to throw?
No, it's got to be a frog, right?
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
It's tough to beat a frog bite, but no, I would say if I had to pick a favorite that I throw the most, probably a jig.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, your favorite time of year to fish?
Spring. 100%.
Right.
Spawn and post spawn. Not a huge
Okay.
pre-spawn guy. So spawn into post spawn before they really settle into that summer pattern. Those are my favorite times to fish.
Nice. All right. Is that all of them, Robert? I
That
don't
was
have my
it.
list in front of
And
me.
you got them in order. You did great. Better than me. I have to have a list to look at. I can't ever remember them.
All
Yeah,
right.
that would be me. I'd have to write them down too, no doubt.
Well, we are going to start wrapping things up. Pete, what do you have coming up for you? What do you have coming up for the podcast that you can share with us? What do you have coming up for OneCast Fishing, um, the jigs? If there's anything coming up that you can share with us, what's coming up?
Yeah, for sure. So we don't have a whole bunch of new product or anything coming this year. There will be some, so I don't have anything great to share there. But when's this episode come out? Will it come out before the Bassmaster Classic?
So this episode will come out a week from today.
Okay, so yeah, if you're listening to this, we're just now getting to Tennessee. We would have got there today into Knoxville for the Classic. So OneCast Fishing will have a booth there, booth 4013. So if you're going to be there in Knoxville, come say what's up. Holler at us. Check out the jigs. We'll have some show specials and stuff going on. Um, Podcast for you guys. I know both of you are kayak anglers. Um, so episode coming out tomorrow. I have Corey Dreyer with Hobie, fishes the BOS, fishes KBF. He's going to be on. We have a really good conversation about selecting kayaks and kayak fishing in general. And then next week episode we'll release is with Casey Reed, another
Nice.
guy, kayak
Yeah.
fisherman. You were at the kayak. Did you come to the kayak class at Cashin?
Yeah, I did.
Robert did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw you there, Robert. I knew you
Yep.
looked familiar. So yeah, we got Casey coming on, and that's a long one. That's almost 2 hours, and man, we just talk about kayak fishing and what he does and his setup and stuff like that. Then we got some NPFL angler guests coming on, and if you want to give us a listen, we're the OneCast on all the streaming platforms for podcasts. We do have a YouTube channel. I know that's not huge, but if you go to OneCast Fishing, we have the OneCast playing on there on YouTube. Um, Other than that, we're just trying to keep it topical, like you said. We don't want to be the technique and talk to a professional angler about his last tournament recap. We do a little bit of that just because you sort of have to if you're an outdoors fishing podcast. It's an item people want to talk about, but it's not our focus. So even when we have some of the pro anglers and stuff that we have coming on or have had on in the past, we don't just talk about their tournament or what they do on tournament day. When we had Destin Demarion on a few months back, we talked about life on the road as a elite series angler and fishing the other circuits as a pro, fishing the opens and the EQs. We don't want to be that cookie cutter. Well, how'd you catch them on Gunnersville last year and stuff like that. So we want to get into those things that people don't think about. There's a lot more to it than just camera flashes and autographs. When you get to be a professional angler, and if you listen to some of the guys and gals that have told their stories, they get to a certain level and they think they made it, and sponsor dollars are going to come raining, and that's just not the way it is. So trying to share that with folks and share our opinions on things like who we think is the goat of bass fishing. And our last episode, we talked a little bit about ramp water etiquette. We talked about the F1s, the bass stocking program that they're trying to get going here in North Carolina. So we talk about a wide range of topics. We're not a lot like y'all's podcast. We're not just a cookie cutter professional bass fishing podcast. So appreciate anybody that wants to check us out, and really appreciate you, Cam and Robert, for having me on to talk a little bit about it and for listening to us. And for anybody listening, if you're not going to see us, give us a follow, leave a comment. We have a pretty active Facebook page. We do a live session every Friday night on our Facebook where we talk with our listeners. We have guests on there to talk to them outside of the podcast. So if you want to get in and kind of see what we're about, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. And wanted to give you an opportunity to shout out sponsors, pro staffs, anybody that makes fishing easier for you. You want to say thank you to, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I want to thank Carolina Waters, my newest one. Cam's on with them. Um, Great company, great apparel. I'm super happy to be on with them and using their stuff. Cash and rods, made right here in. Yep, there you go. Got that Carolina Waters koozie on the Coke there. Cash and rods, American made. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I truly believe in those American made rods made here in North Carolina. Getting to meet those guys. My wife does work there, so I guess I have a little bit of inside. But we were customers long before she was employed there. And if you're on the fence about it, go in there, meet the folks behind the product, get a tour. They'll take you on a tour. Definitely check them out. Great company with great people. OneCast Fishing, they're I was with them before we started the podcast and everything. With the jigs, the new snagless jigs. I know you have a jig sponsor, so I don't want to step on that. But if you want to try something different, if you're looking for another small U.S. company, veteran owned to try out, check us out. Give the snagless jigs a try. Gamma fishing line, man, best fluorocarbon I've ever used, and I've tried them all. It's also a product that is imported here. And Dale that owns it up in Pennsylvania, when he gets the fluorocarbon, he has a whole, I'm not going to try to quote it because I don't know, but he has a whole scientific process he does to it when it gets here. And he actually, when they stretch fluorocarbon, it breaks down some of the fluorocarbon, and he has a process to basically bring it back to its original strength. So, I absolutely love that stuff. Definitely something to check out. I'm sure there's other ones I'm missing, but those are the big ones that are able to keep me fishing and help us with the podcast a little bit and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, and I know you've already shouted it out for the podcast, but any social media stuff you can any if listeners want to follow your adventures, want to see what Pete Shandrick is all about, how do they find you? How do they follow you?
Yeah, you can. I'm on all the platforms as Pete Shandrick Fishing, so that's where I post all my fishing content. So yeah, if you type it in on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I sort of have a YouTube. I don't really do anything, so I don't. You don't need to go over there because I don't have time to edit and make YouTube videos with everything else I got going on. But I try to post the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook pretty regularly just to keep up with what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, Pete, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast. Enjoyed getting to know you better, and I enjoyed hearing your story, brother.
Yeah. Cam, Robert, I really appreciate y'all having me on and, shared that testimony. I want anybody listening to know that there's only about 4 other people that ever heard that before today. My wife had never even heard the whole thing. I shared it with a men's group at our church before I was saved back in Pennsylvania. So it's out there for the world now. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity. It feels good to share that with other folks. And, hopefully if anybody's listening out there struggling, kind of going through some stuff, Jesus really does save. So, put your faith in him and things will get better. I promise you.
There you go.
That's awesome. All right, man. Thank you again.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
If a fly rod is your weapon of choice, check out Atollis. Their Fly Caddy is the most convenient way to get your favorite flies to the water or just keep them handy by clipping it to your hat, truck visor, backpack, rod case, or just whatever. You can also bundle it up with flies from independent fly tires that Atollis has teamed up with through their Fly Light project. Choose from bundles specializing in redfish, carp, saltwater, or freshwater. Head over to atollis.co, that's ATOLLAS.co, to get your Fly Caddy today and use promo code faithnfish15 to save 15% on your order. That's faith the letter N, fish the number 15 at checkout for 15% off. Few things ruin your day on the water as bad as losing gear. But with the retrieval devices for fishing rods, action cams, bow fishing bows, and more from Save Your Outdoors, You don't have to let dropping your stuff ruin your day because you can get it back. The pressure-sensitive filter keeps water from rain and quick dips in the water out, but it lets water in when your gear goes overboard to release a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back. Go to saveyouroutdoors.com to learn more and try some for yourself, and use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% on your order. That's savouroutdoors.com and promo code FNFP15. All right, Robert. Another great episode. I wanted to give you a chance to, if you had any housekeeping things or anything like that, anything you didn't get to say before we started that you wanted to jump in on, go for it, man.
Yeah. No, not a lot. I just hate that I missed the first of that. But like I said, kids and family come first. So we had to finish up Mason's birthday celebration, but did get to get a little fishing in this past weekend. We went to the beach and did a little surf fishing on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. So able to catch one small nurse shark, probably like 1.5 feet long. And then Ryder caught his first redfish. So
heck yeah.
So it was maybe 13, 14 inches. So nothing that was huge or anything, but it was cool. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. So we had a big time, and so looking forward to doing some more of that as the summer progresses, and see if I can catch some at Falls this weekend. Maybe I'll get to go up there for a little bit. We'll see. I got a jam-packed weekend. We're hosting a family for Merge this weekend, or not a family. We're hosting my youngest son's age group for Merge. So I think we'll have like maybe 10 or 12 boys here, plus a couple of leaders, and then Merge is the area churches they basically combine all their youth programs for one weekend. So all of them are combined and do some different programs and stuff Friday night, all day Saturday, and then finish up with a church service on Sunday. So they're all staying at our house for the high school boys. So that'll be interesting. And then I'm going to try to sneak in and fish the tournament for a little while on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes.
I will be fishing Saturday, that tournament. So this is my first time on Falls. So, and of course it's going to be right after a big cold front rolls in. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm comfortable saying this now because this episode will air after the tournament. But what I did was I called Outhouse Tackle today because they're right on Falls and that's their home lake.
Yep.
So I called him and I was like, hey man, I've never been on Falls. I need you to give me, where would you start with this weather pattern that we've got coming through? And he's like, it's going to be rough. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it's definitely not going to play to my strengths, but hopefully I'll be able to get some sort of reaction bite going. But we'll see. And if nothing else, maybe I'll hook something for the wild card that we've got.
There you go. I want to get one fish on the board just so I can place and get some points. And if I get one or two fish, I'm heading out and coming back here to help with the Merge church stuff. So hopefully I can get one or two quick and then get back to what I need to be doing. But I don't want to miss the points opportunity for that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, another huge thank you to Pete for coming on the show and sharing his story with us. As always, his links will be in the show notes for you to follow along with him. And the All Things Faith and Fishing link will be there. That's got all of our sponsor links. It's got the YouTube channel. It's got, like I said at the beginning, the merch store. It's got anything that has a link for Faith and Fishing. It will be up there. So, so y'all give that y'all check that out. It's got our Omnia profiles, all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get ready to close it out. I'll say a quick prayer for us, and then we will close it out.
Let's do it.
All right. God, thank you so much for this opportunity that we have to just get together as brothers and talk fishing and talk about you, and all the great things that come with that. Thank you for Pete. Thank you for what he means to so many people, and thank you for his story. I pray that you use his story to reach as many people as you can, and just take what he's given and put on a show with it. And as we go on about this week, no matter where, this will be out there for a while. So whoever's listening to this right now, I thank you for them. No matter when it is, meet them where they are, and flood into their lives, and just kind of, like I said with Pete's story, just kind of put on a show with where they are and who they are, and shine through them and shine into them, and keep everybody safe, and keep everybody just a little bit closer to you than they were before. And all of this we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. That is going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless. Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Faith and Fishing is produced and hosted by Cam Steele and Robert Randolph, and is sponsored by Savior Outdoors, Jay's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Mr. B Lure Company, Atollas, and Omnia Fishing. Don't forget to join the Facebook community, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.